Carolyn Dube here with the latest Playdate Spray Ink edition. Playdates came about because of the conversations, the questions, what goes on when I'm arting with friends. And it's those discussions that I find to be so rich, so energizing to my creativity, and I wanted to share that with my online friends too. So as I share with you today about which spray ink I really love, I'm not able to share with you every single thing about it, just the thing that's most exciting to me at the moment. Because when you're playing with someone, that's a lot of times what they share with you is the thing that's absolutely most exciting to them. Now, I'd love to know what's most exciting to you about your spray inks that you're using right now. So I'd love it if you join in the conversation over on my blog at acolorfuljourney.com, or join us over in the Google Plus community called the Colorful Playground, where you can share art that you've made either recently or in the past that's some of your favorite spray ink fun. Enough of my talking, let's get this play date started. So today one of my favorites that we're working with is Dylusion Spray Ink. This stuff is rich with color and it's very translucent, vibrant, and in my bright rainbow Skittle colors that I love so much. I'm going to be using this with a stencil called Rembrandt's Words, and this is from over at Stencil Girl. I chose three colors that I really like together. The first one that I'm going to do is the Bubblegum Pink, and it's lots of ink on there, lots of color, and you can see the dye or the ink sitting on top of the stencil. Well, I'm not going to waste any of that. I am actually going to go over and push it down so that I grab up all the ink off of that, because I can get two very different looks with spraying through a stencil. Obviously the image, just like was in the middle, but the leftovers on the stencil when I do that cleanup kind of print, oh, I absolutely adore that look. Now as I get ready for my next color, I'm going to put the stencil not in exactly the same place as it was before. So I want to put it in a different location. That way I'll get more lines of script on this. And this time I'm using Lemon Zest. The yellow color, because it's yellow, obviously is going to look a little bit lighter. And again, my goal is not to line up my stencil. Of course, I've got all this juicy, wonderful yellow on there, so I'm going to put that at the bottom of where I had my other clean-off printing. And I'm going to do the same thing over on the other side, because again, why waste any of that wonderful pigment and ink? And I am using a very large piece of paper here. This is a 12 by 18 piece of paper so that you can see all of this at once on camera. Sometimes what I'll do with this is if I'm doing, say, a smaller page like in an art journal, I might have a second art journal page somewhere nearby, and that's where I do my cleanup prints. But I wanted you to be able to see all of it here on the screen at the same time, which is why I chose a bigger piece. Well, now this time I'm bringing in the orange, and again, not lining things up. I want this all offset so that I can still actually see all three colors at the same time. And you betcha I am not going to waste that beautiful orange. I'm going to put it up at the top on the sides, so I've used as much of the ink as I can. So here it is, all completely dry. I'm going to cover this in gesso. And gesso is a wet something, and dilutions react to things that have water in them. They're more likely to run when they hit water. Dilutions really reacts to the wet, watery things. That's why it is such a big deal that this page was completely dry before I added the layers of gesso. And as I add these layers of gesso on here, sometimes the gesso will kind of pick up some of the color from under there, especially if I work it a whole bunch and keep brushing over the same spot. But you can see how it's covered up at first and then the colors bleed up through it. You can put like 20 layers of gesso on and it's still going to bleed up through. And the different colors seem to bleed just a little bit differently. That pink is really popping out, whereas the orange and yellow are just a little bit softer on it. And as this dries, what's underneath there begins to pop up, and it gives it a really aged, old, buried in the background kind of look. When you first put the gesso on, it looks almost like maybe it's going to cover up what's underneath it, but as it dries, whatever is underneath it bleeds right on up through and adds some wonderful color to the gesso. Instead of just being plain old white gesso, it's picking up the colors that are coming up from the spray inks. So it's a great way to build a background, to create some subtle looks when playing with stencils and spray inks. And it does this with gesso. It also does this with any acrylic paint that I've tried. If you've enjoyed this video, I hope you'll check out the other videos in Playdate's Spray Ink Edition. You can find the links down below here on my YouTube video, or I'll have them over on my blog at A Colorful Journey, along with a complete post with all the links to everything used in the video. And of course, if you've liked this video and want to see more of my future videos, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. That way you won't miss a thing. Thanks for being a part of this colorful journey.